To me, the Golden Globe Race is an affordable sailing race around the world. The fact that it's a race interests me. Some people, they want to sail around the world, but to me, I want to race around the world. Doesn't mean I'm going to win, but the Golden Globe Race makes it possible for an ordinary worker to enter. Like, I'm a furniture maker and a fisherman, but an ordinary person can enter this race. Now, it would put you to the pin of your collar financially and mentally, but that's a great challenge. Entering it was one of the best things I ever did. It was a fantastic journey. There was highs and lows and stresses and that, but it's a fantastic journey. The 2 weeks before the start were like a dream, like a day. I stepped back. I didn't concentrate maybe properly. I was just flat to the mat getting everything done. Looking back, I learnt an awful lot. My time management was poor. I did too much sailing and not enough. Like, I should have finished my rig a year before the race. Sometimes people just can't do things for you and you expect it to be done and you'll be waiting months sometimes, and everything that holds you up puts everything else back. So I ran out of time. In the end, time is my biggest problem, not money. Money is a struggle, but actually time, you can't stop time. And time, I was down to the pin of my collar to get everything done, and that was my biggest issue. Everything is learning, and learning is good. Yeah, so time was my biggest problem. On the start line, I decided I wanted a good start. It wouldn't matter in a big long race if you were a minute behind, but I was on the line. I was close to Simon and Damien, and I got a good start. That was one of the high points.
It's exciting times ahead, lads. Exciting times ahead is right.
I have no fear on the water. Some people might be nervous starting off on a journey like that. I feel safer at sea than I do on land. I personally would be under more risk if I took up cycling or running. I don't consider it a risky sport. It's an endurance, it's a mental challenge, but I wouldn't consider it a physical risk. You become a survivor in the sense your hands become like vice grips at times, holding on, and you are careful, but you know the risk of the sea. I have a lot of miles up at sea, so I know the risks, and I don't consider it a risky sport. My father sailed around the world when he was 70 after his third attempt and taken 3 years to sail around. I was on his support committee, which made the Golden Globe Race more achievable for me because I had seen his effort to sail around the world. And my brother Peter was trying to go sailing around the world too, but hasn't managed so far. I have 2 other brothers with boats, and I have a brother and sister who don't have boats. And Dan, my brother, calls himself the landlubber, and Helen sails with her brothers. So that's the 6 of us, and we sail quite a bit. We were kind of interbred into sailing with my father.
Oh, green is the colour of my true love's eye.
When I was young, I started following the Ulster and the single-handed transatlantic race, and I dreamed of doing it. And really, I had no money and I hadn't the experience, but it was a nice dream. And it had drifted. I had followed the Golden Globe Race, the original one, more after the race, but it would have been a part of that dream. And I got married and had a family, and that dream kind of dissipated. And then when I heard about the Golden Globe Race, I said I'd like to enter. I didn't think I would, I just thought I would like to. And then I started to follow the tracker. I told my wife before the race started I'd like to do it, and she said go for it. And when I started, then I really got hooked following the tracker in the 18 race. And I had decided to enter, and interesting, a few days after my wife said I could do it, she said I could sell the house if I wanted to do it. So that was nice. I didn't sell the house, and I wouldn't because I have a workshop behind it, and I know what I'd be as kind to her, but anyway, it was a great offer from her. It really was going back to my youth, the dream, and the dream reawoke, and that's why I wanted to enter. I have a friend, Philip, whose wife is a psychiatrist, and she has analysed us all and said we all have a different kind of a syndrome of what. So when I asked her what mine, she didn't answer. So.
And good to hear your voice. Last night you came up, but I could not barely hear you, so maybe I'm gaining on you.
I hope so, Guy. I hope so. I'm nearly past Finisterre. Nearly past Finisterre. No. If my knee was better, I would actually stop the boat, but to take down the sails now and put up the sails again with my knee the way it is wouldn't be easy. So I will just release the ashes as they are.
Garrod was a good friend. And actually, interesting, I never felt alone at sea. My father was with me, Garrod and other people. And I know it's probably all in the mind, but it's nice support, you know, yeah, so.
Fantastic friend. He's always with me in my memories. Even though he's gone to another world, he's still here, still with me. Because I have other ashes, he will travel around the world with me. And I will release him in the Southern Ocean. So Garrod. Love you. Oh. He always said he'd like to go sailing, and he never did. And he said he'd only go sailing with one person, that was me. So he's sailing with me now. And he will sail all around the world once I make it. The kind of day I will. So to my friend Garrod, goodbye. Oh, if you ever go across the sea to Ireland, it may be at the closing of your day. You can watch the sun go down over Claddagh and watch the sun go down on Galway Bay.
Because I was racing, I was continuously probably over fidgeting, keeping the boat going. Your navigation takes a few hours a day. Your cooking takes a few hours a day.
Boil on, lovely porridge. I will have you in my belly shortly, and it will be lovely. Yeehaw!
You sleep, but you're I was continuously adjusting sails, and I'd sleep for 20 minutes and I'd get up, not for ships so much, but for wind changes, especially at the dawn. Sometimes in trade winds I'd take an hour sleep, and it was fantastic. You get really good sleep and you remember all your dreams, which is interesting, or a lot of your dreams that you wouldn't, because you're going into a sleep, but it's a short sleep, and when you wake up, and silly dreams, like, yeah, but that's just an interesting side effect, I think, yeah.
I have about 190 odd miles to Lanzarote, all gone well.
Sailing into Lanzarote was another high point. I thought I was in fifth. Two boats told me they were ahead of me, and when I got there I was ahead of them, and I was happy with that. And you don't know where the other boats are, even though they're giving you positions, you're still not sure. So I was happy to be in third.
I started my painting. Can I get you my painting?
Oh, let's see it.
I did some painting, yeah. And it was good. It was interesting and nice, yeah. I could paint easily and well when I was young, but with the lack of practice, they weren't as good as I thought they'd be.
It won't make me famous, but it passed the time, and I reckon it gets my things off my mind.
Thank you for coming.
No worries, I'll do a circle round you.
Lanzarote in the background. Bye-bye!
I listened to music. I had 2 tape cassettes that I really liked, and the Celtic Woman was one of them, but there were those ones I'd listen, and music would bring you to places, memories and that, and I was amazed that I enjoyed the music so much. It would make you lonesome maybe at times, but it was nice. I read a lot of books, which I hadn't read books. I've been self-employed most of my life, and you're time poor when you're self-employed. You know, you wouldn't have time, but I read a good few books and really enjoyed reading the books, actually.
Nice sailing outside. It's a bit misty. Fine seas. The Sahara's over there. There's a ship over there I tried to call, but he wouldn't answer.
Gone down to Cape Town. I had a good passage down. I made a few tactical errors, but there were gambles, decisions, you know. And when I got near the doldrums, I went west-southwest instead of going south by southeast.
It's hot here. Cooking. But it's nice. Rita is the strong person in this relationship. Without her, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have what I have today. And I'm blessed to have her. So I love you, Rita, and thank you so much for everything. To your health. Long may it continue.
About 4 months before the start of the race, my wife was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. She's had a test since, and it's a very mild version, so that's good news. But it's just something comes with old age, I suppose, things like that. And it was a shock and a disappointment for her. But I've grown to accept it. It's tough, yeah.
Parkinson's is only a little thing. So, I love you. My first sunset in the southern hemisphere. Nice to be south of the equator. First time in my life. And over here we have the moon. Windows open, warm temperatures, not too humid since we got south of the equator. Isn't it gorgeous? It's absolutely stunning. I'm so lucky to be out here. Trade winds are nice too. Not everyone gets to do a journey like this. I'm blessed. Blessed is a good thing to be. Sun is up. Sky will be blue. There's a ship over there.
When I got around Trinidad, I was happy, and then my area self-steering broke, and that was a low. That was a serious low. When you don't have the support of people, I think, looking back on it, I was really down, really down. I felt ashamed for my sponsors, and looking at Crowhurst and that, like if Crowhurst had pulled into Cape Town, he would have been welcomed and maybe a bit of a hero for getting that far. But when you're isolated, it's different. It's just looking back on it. Now, there was no problem. I was low. I wasn't going to do anything daft, but yeah, but that was a low point.
This race is called the Voyage of Madmen, and the winner finds fame and fortune, and all the others find madness and insanity.
You're not lonely, but you're lonesome. There is a difference, and you're not vulnerable, but you're weak mentally. You know, you haven't the support to sit down and talk it over with someone. And I had a few days there where I struggled. But the minute I got in, my sponsors rang me and they were happy out and delighted and all really nice. So it was fine, all good. But that was the lowest point, a few days there. I didn't tell anyone for a few days I was having problems, and maybe I should have come straight out and said it, but I didn't. My advice, if you're interested in doing it, to give it a go. You know, like 32 entered and 16 made it. If you enter and you don't make it, it's not the end of the world. It's still a fantastic journey. Maybe you'd want to prepare to fail, which sounds negative, but don't get too sucked up into worrying about things and just take it as it comes. And it's a fantastic journey. It's a huge learning curve. And the people that enter the race are all fantastic characters. They're helpful and nice and different, maybe. Except me, I'm normal.
So, peace and tea. Love you all.
there's only about 220 people who've done it. And if you want to take on the toughest challenge there is, that's it.
The Sunday Times Golden Globe will be awarded to the first non-stop circumnavigator of the world.
I can remember someone coming up to me and saying, "You, this Johnny who thinks he can sail solo non-stop around the world." And I said, "We're going to try it."
It was the first ever round the world yacht race.
You know, out of the 9 entries, only 1 finished.
But to rerun it under the same conditions makes it very, very interesting. So you're really going back in time.
It's not something you do with your mind at this point. You do with your heart and you just try with yourself.
This is the longest sport event in sport history.
If anyone ever says this is ridiculous, he's being reckless, I'd just say, sorry, he's not. He's being a real seaman. There'll be people that will say, oh, the boats aren't safe. Do you have to spend $1 million to buy a 60-footer that does all this fancy stuff? Does the little guy not go? There's no way.
The race has held that appeal because these grand authors made it sound really attainable.
We're putting in half of everything we own in this race, and it'd be nice to have something left at the end.
Miss! Just look at the devastation. Single-handed sailors don't obey rules, so it's a recipe for disaster.
Don't come in.
I can't make a jury, Rick. The only thing that's left is a hole.
I was just praying somebody would get there before I would.
I never thought I was going to see him again.
We started with 18 and we're now down to 7.
So you're still having fun then? Not to come here, it's very difficult.
We don't need millions, to do sailboat racing. We don't need all that modern technology to fulfill a dream.
I'm going to be comfortable, but I'm going to do it.
He hasn't given up, that's the bottom line.